Hey sis.
Hey sis.
Hey y'all.
Hi.
What a week.
Has it been a week?
Yes.
A good week or?
It's been a week. A good week. I'm not gonna say it's been a bad week. It's been a good week, but a lot of
stuff.
So much going on. So much.
You were busy. We were just talking about guests on the podcast. You about to be the first guest. We'll interview you.
Whatever.
What's going on with your life? Who are you? What would you do if you had to be interviewed and the question was, who are you?
I'm working on that now still, so I will tell the person I'm still working on that. Ask me again later.
Oh my God. Come back to me. I'll be back on that.
I am a child of God.
That's right. Amen.
Who are you?
Same.
Okay.
Actually, I've been told that I'm a fisher of men. Women.
One of the other organization that I'm in with our sister on LOL back home, that's the name of her.
Oh yeah,
Fishers of young men.
Yeah, I was supposed to be saying fisher of women, but it's fisher of that's what he told me.
Okay. But that's what we
I know
that's
what
we're
we
supposed
do. That's
to do.
what we're supposed to be doing. That's all of our work.
That's the work.
That's everything. It just feels weird, like
when you say it.
And your apostle did a thing on it. I have not watched it on purpose because I'm just like
I've seen it. I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my list to watch. Yeah.
So who are you, sis?
Who are you? You asking me or done?
I'm asking them.
Oh, okay, good.
Tell us in the comments. Who are you?
Who are you?
And then it's like I heard that a while ago, but I never said it out. This is my first time. You guys got exclusive and never say it out loud. But lately it's been coming up a lot.
Yeah, we've talked about it, but not like, you know, officially asking each other, who are you?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And it sounds like an easy question. It sounds like a question, but once you sit down and start thinking about it, you're like, okay, who am I?
Yeah. And it's like, I feel like when you talk about who are you, normally people start talking about what they do, like their jobs, their titles, like all of that stuff.
That's
where you normally go.
Oh, I'm a mom.
I'm a this, I'm a that.
Wife,
No. That's just what you do. That's not who you are. So, but I think it's good to know. Like it's a good reminder. It's a good
but that does not make you. That's a gift that God gave. That's a gift. It's a gift. You're a mom. Yes, that's a gift. You're a wife. Yes, that's a gift. But as far as who He's called you to be, and your ultimate purpose on this earth, that's that's who you are. Whoever.
So are you like me? You have yours and you're just not saying it all out because you said
I don't have mine. I don't think I have mine. I have some stuff that I think I am, but I don't think I have mine.
Okay, so you say you're also a fisher of men. Mine is fisher of women. Unfulfilled women is my thing.
Men, it's not.
I know, but I'm saying like if you had to clarify, like get like deeper into it, like do you feel like you at least know who
I'm called to?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely women. I know I'm called to women. I know that. Other than the fact that I have a women's group, I know I'm called to women because before the group even came along, it was always somebody, some woman, some girl, you know. So yes, I know I'm called to women, but I don't think that's it. Ultimately.
Any particular women?
You ask a lot of questions.
Just asking.
Gosh. You mean like older, younger?
Or I don't know. Like how my thing is the unfulfilled thing.
I think it's women who are like who I can relate to, like things that I've been through. Like I'm on this journey of purpose. Those are the women that you know. Right now, those are people that I guess I'm attracted to, or whatever like that. Yes, those are people who I think I'm called to.
Okay. Yeah. As I dig deeper into mine, my question just becomes like, do people self-identify as a person, or I find them? Like for me, it's like I know, but it's like okay, so like unfulfilled, right? Who's gonna raise their hand and say I'm unfulfilled? Some people will. When you get to that point, and I think it's when you get to that point,
and when you know you're unfulfilled.
When you get to that point and you're because people, I feel like there are people who are, and I can hear it and what they're saying or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah. But everybody's not ready to have that conversation, like how we talked last time on the podcast, talking about you being used, like you know, by the enemy. Everybody's not in that space, so it's kind of like, do you wait until they say, hey, I'm looking for my purpose, or
right.
hey, I'm unfulfilled,
right.
or something? Or do you illuminate that for them? Hey, those feelings that you're feeling, probably because you don't have a purpose, you don't have a thing yet, you haven't identified that.
Right, and that's the thing. Sometimes you don't even know that you are supposed to be trying to find a purpose.
Right.
Some people are just living.
That's the thing.
Some people are just
That's
living
right.
day to day. Some
just
people
going,
are just going.
And they don't realize what's missing.
They don't realize what's missing until maybe you hear a conversation or you put on an episode, you come across an episode
right.
like this, and
right.
and then it gets you thinking like, okay, wait, maybe I do have a purpose. Maybe that's why I started. And then you go on that search.
I think it's like, okay, maybe unfulfilled women is like the broad thing. But then for me, it's like fulfillment through love. Yours is fulfillment through purpose. Like in terms of like your focus, like the people you go to. Like for me, once you get love, everything else will come. For you, it's like purpose, and then everything. Oh my God is so
look.
Like
I've been
thinking of all of that. Like, who would think of all of that and put all of that together and know, like, it's just, you have these moments where it's just kind of like, what in the world? Like, I was going back with unfulfilled, and like you said, it's people that I'm drawn to, and because I've been through that whole thing. And I was just trying to figure out, like, well, when did I realize I was unfulfilled? Like, when? And, I was just writing, and Holy Spirit was just guiding me.
Can you pinpoint?
When I realized I was? No. I can't pinpoint it. But this, I don't want to say scary, but kind of, I guess it was a sad moment in reading back what I wrote. But it wasn't sad. Like, and one day I'll share these things with people, I'm sure. But it was just kind of like, I guess I was just more happy than I am, more joyful than I am where I am now. But it's like I've been unfulfilled, like always. Like I kind of had just did like a free write, and I identified like 3 areas, like work, life, and then just me. And it was just kind of like since I was young, like I was never, and I've talked about this before, like able to be myself. But what I did realize, and as I was writing, was there was a little piece of me that I found as a teen. And I like hid that little piece inside, and I just nurtured it for a long time, and then eventually I let it go. But it was always there. And then, like looking back on it now, I'm like, okay, that's me. Like that was who God put me here to be, and I like covered it up. Thank God. Like I held on to it, I hid it away inside, and let the world just take over.
Right.
But eventually, when I was able to finally hear the voice of God, like that piece of me just came back and blossomed, and all of those things, but. It's like I just lived this life of like, and I didn't know. I thought I was just, or okay, once I get here, I'll feel better. Once I get here, it'll come. Once I find this, it'll come. Oh, once I get married, like it'll be good. Once my kids, that was the moment. My kids, that did pinpoint it when I was writing it. Once I had the kids, I think that was the beginning. Like looking back, I was like, I didn't know that God was working in my life. But once I had them, it's when I started to feel that like, again, love is my solution to unfulfillment. Is when I started to feel that like, oh, okay, wait, there's something more. Like they are relying on me, and it's all of that I have to do for them, that I started to see love in a different way. What about you?
Something I think something always has to happen in order for you to get that aha moment, like for you to know that. For me, I always say this 4 years ago when I lost my father. Yes, for me, like that's when my journey started. Yes, I think it started before then, but that's when I realized that I needed to be more focused. Like I needed to be. That's when I knew I was called to God, called to something, that's when I started really trying to find my purpose, because I was like, okay, this can't be it. Like, okay, I lost my father, I'm feeling down, I'm hurt, all these things are happening, I'm seeing things, I'm hearing God, I'm going through so much was going on. And it was exactly 4 years ago around this time. He died June 14, 4 years ago. So it was exactly around this time, and I remember just praying so fervently for my purpose, and I was just like, God, okay, it has to be something, it has to be something. And I was just like, purpose. That was my word at the time, like it is now, 4 years later. 4 years later, and I've been on that journey ever since then. Yes, I stopped, and I took a break, and then I went back to the world, and then when I say go back to the world, not like crazy,
I understand,
because can't be talking.
You was just out here
to be talking loosely like that
in the world, just gone.
Yes, but sometimes you just fall by the wayside. Sometimes you're not focused. You're not, consistent like you should be. So, it's like a back and forth thing. But that was exactly when I know for that, because so much was happening at that time. And I still go back to my journals from 2020 and I would read stuff. And then a lot of the things that I wrote down 4 years ago are manifesting now. Are happening, and I just feel like, wow, look at God.
Yeah.
Wow, look at God. And like during that time, if I'm praying for my purpose, and now I'm seeing that I'm walking into my purpose, or I'm walking out my purpose, I'm like, oh wow.
It's really amazing.
It's like God is just...
And I can't stress enough, however you document things, document it. Like, I have the same where I went back, I was saying on my December fast, I was finding stuff from 2020, 2019, where I was writing and talking. I had no idea. Like, now looking back, I'm like, wow. Like, I was having a whole thing with him, and I didn't realize that. I thought I was talking to myself or writing to myself. It's so funny. In one of my writings, I was like, who am I talking to? Like, I just, we talking. Like, am I just talking, like, for somebody to read this? Like, and I'm like, you're talking to God. Like, you are talking to him. And for me, it was, like I said, when I had the kids that it started, but it was the pandemic where I sat with them and really got to know who they were. And saw how my life was unfolding. Like, I was working all the time. Like every family, right? Like, come home, we had 2 hours, we have dinner, they would go to sleep. I didn't know my kids. I didn't know them. I didn't know who they were going to be, and I didn't know the type of parent that I needed to be for them. And so when we had the pandemic, I was able to like take a step back and like look at my life and just be like, this, like how you said, it's not it. I was like, this is not it. Right. Like, this is not it. I've always felt an immense responsibility as a parent because, first of all, I'm blessed with 2 children, but they didn't ask to be here, right? So it's on me and it's on my husband to make sure that this foundation is set. Once they go out into the world, they can be who they want to be, but you never going to say, I didn't get this or I didn't get that. So I always knew that. But then once the pandemic hit, it was kind of like, okay, I need to do more than just set a foundation. Like, I am responsible for these humans and like what happens to them, but also like they're people and I want to know them and I want to enjoy them. And so I think through my relationship with my kids growing is also showing how my relationship with God grew and how he helped and guided me through that in a way that I didn't even know. But looking back, it's like, wow. Right. Like, and then I wanted to be better for them, right? Like, I have a daughter and you have...
I have too many daughters. Right.
You have so many, but I have one.
Don't say so many like that.
So many daughters.
I have only 3.
Only 3. But compared to my one, I feel like I shouldn't even speak on like raising daughters. But like, I always knew. That's when I started to realize, like, growing up, being a young girl, I was like her, the only girl in the house. I had my brothers, my uncle. Like, I was always around boys. My mom was a young parent, and obviously she tried her best, but she had me at 16 years old, right? Obviously her family wasn't thrilled about that. Her parents weren't thrilled about that. So imagine what she's going through. And then like, my dad wasn't present. So it was just a lot happening growing up to where, she couldn't give me the time and attention that I now can give to my kids. And as going through that, like, I don't blame her. I don't fault her for that. Like, I admire and appreciate the fact that she was able to do all she did in that time period. But I started to recognize how I was unfulfilled. Like, I was not, and I never wanted her to go through that. That, I think, was the impetus for that. Like, I was just like, I have this, I have my daughter and I see her spirit and I, one, don't want anyone to ever trample on it. But I also want her to have a good enough foundation to where the people that she's going to come into, the things that are going to happen to her are not going to shake her world. It's not going to make her end up, somewhere crazy in the world or wherever. And so I think through that want and need is how that unfulfillment and the fact that I felt unfulfilled and I had to like say it. Like, I'm not, I was married. I had my kids. I had my, like, I had things. Everything was going. Like, I had a good job. I had a good career. Like, I had my education. Like, things were going great if you look at it on paper. But I was just like, first of all, who am I? Who am I even going to tell her to be?
And they have a lot of people now who have all of those things, but like you said, are still unfulfilled. Yeah. They're unhappy. Right. They are sad. They're just, and they be the people who are, and like when we say check on your strong friends, those friends who just seem like they have everything going for them. you got to check on them because like they are a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, they're going through something. Something like, it's funny how like your thing before, you know, you realized that you were unfulfilled. It was your kids. That's a happy place. That's your, you know, and meanwhile, I was in pain in order for me to be able to, you know, it was painful, yes, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to get up from this. I'm gonna have to wake up from this. And then when it's all said and done, what's next? Do I just sit here and keep living like I'm living, or do I find, you know, something deeper? And that's the walk that I'm on now, like that.
And so I know you say it all the time, but this is the first time you mentioned the 4 years and being your dad passing. Like you always say 4 years ago. Yeah. So was it like just the thought of like life lost, like just hitting you, or was it a deeper connection to your father that like
it was so? And my husband doesn't like when I say this, because I feel like I don't want to say I feel like it was my fault, but I feel like there was so many things I could have done better that I didn't do because you know, I was I'm sorry, I was other than being unfulfilled, I was lost. I didn't know better. I didn't, and other than that, like it was other things happening underground, you know, in the background of my life that I couldn't do certain things that I wanted to do. Right. I couldn't help out the way I wanted to help out. I couldn't do certain things that I really wanted to do, and so I would blame myself. And my husband would be like, "No, that's not your fault. You couldn't control this." And I'm like, "But still, I could have chosen. I could have done this better. I could have done that better." So with that happening, I was like, okay, I don't want this to happen again. Yes, I'm going to lose people, but I don't want to be put in that position to have to feel guilty, even if it wasn't my fault. Right. So, yeah, it was my dad's passing. Yeah, it was during that time.
And like you said, you had always known there was something and you just weren't getting it. So then that drove you to like get there faster. Or do it finally. Or try.
Because I'm still trying. Yeah, and it's hard.
It's
not easy.
It's definitely a work in progress. But I think, like you said, like I said, like starting with that acknowledgement, which is hard to look at your life and go, like for me to look back and be like, I've always been unfulfilled. Like obviously, you know, things have changed, but I grew up that way. And I didn't have anybody to help me see that. I didn't have anybody to show me that. Not it's okay, but like that's a normal feeling. There are plenty of people walking around here who are unfulfilled and they don't know it, and they have little things that maybe, you know, they're trying to make them happy. Right. But happy is fleeting. Happy is not something that ever stays. So we're looking to all of these little things to make us feel a certain way, give us that high. But really you can't just sit in it and be like, you know, it always I don't want to say confuse me, but I always struggled with the idea of like, oh, you know, finding joy in hard times and like, you know, struggling through things, but also like being joyful. And I would be like, well, how are you going to do that? And now, not to say I could do it all the time, I'd say it's perfect, but I can see that now where I could be going through, we could be broken, and I could just be like, like we talked about, you know, last episode, thank God he's corrected me, right? Like I can see that. Like I don't have to turn away from God or be afraid of God or feel too guilty about things. I can know that the things that are happening are for a reason, right? Looking back and seeing all the things we wrote in the past that are manifesting now, look at that. Like he has a plan.
He does.
I can rest in him.
And it's a hard thing to do, to find joy in that place. I just went through something like that this week where I was just, my vision was so cloudy. I couldn't see anything. And I was just like, oh, why is this happening? Oh, you called me to this. Right. But once I repented and prayed, and I was just like, oh, that's why this, and oh, that's why. And then like all of a sudden the veil was lifted and I can see, and I was just like, why do I do this to myself? Why? But I'm human. Yeah, and so are you. Yes, exactly. So it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
And I just want to be clear that like even being fulfilled or finding joy does not mean happy. It does not mean you're going to feel great all of the time. It does not mean that, you know, you're going to want to smile all the time. That the world tells us that we need to aspire to be happy, right? And the way to get there is through things and all of that nature. That's not what joy is. That's not what being joyful. Oh my gosh, we're going to have the joy podcast episode now. The Joy podcast. I meant the Joy episode. I don't know who's starting a Joy podcast, but let us know.
Maybe that's your next gig by yourself. Count me out.
Oh God,
count me out.
Imagine.
Count me out.
Joy, you're gonna be my first guest.
Sure, once a year.
Once a year.
Once a
Catch
year.
you on a good day. No, but yes, joy is not about just being happy and, cheerful and this and that. Like, we talked about love on a few episodes ago, and the idea that we love every episode. I know we talk about love on every episode. I know. But the fact that, what love means, and the fact that it's an action and it's a lifestyle, it's not just a happy-go-lucky feeling. Even when we're feeling down, like you had your thing this week, you still loved. Right? Like you still were able to do the things, and you still were able to present the fruits of the Spirit through all that you did, right? You might have been confused, you might have been upset, you might have not been happy, or whatever happened to you during that time period, but you still were able to, or at least knew of, right? Those things. And so that's having that joy, right? That's not necessarily I'm happy and I want to be around everybody and I'm this and I'm that. And that's not what we're aspiring for. It's great to have that feeling, of course, but you want something deeper, and you can get something deeper. Like, God is just waiting for you right here to give you those things.
And that'll take us into our next topic.
All right.
After we end this.
After we end this, so we're just going to call this episode unscripted, unfulfilled, unscripted. Just was us, Holy Spirit.
This is how we have conversations on a regular basis. This is the stuff we talk about. We didn't prepare for this. We just started talking. Our Bibles are open, but we didn't even go to any scriptures because we're just having a conversation with you. And
welcome.
That's what we do.
Welcome.
That's why. That's how this started, because of the conversations that we have. So.
All right, sister, you've gotten a little insight into us. We are grateful that you're here and able to be part of the conversation. So definitely let us know what you feel about or what you think about unfulfilled. We talked about a lot. So like, who are you? Do you know? Are you a fisher of men? What kind of men are you fishing for? Or women, people, okay?
People, right.
Have you felt unfulfilled? Do you know, have you been able to pinpoint that moment? Are you unfulfilled?
Yes, right now.
Exactly. And how are you seeking or searching for joy? What is your thing? Mine is love. Laura says purpose. What's yours? Do you know? Are you looking for something? Let us know. We want to hear from you. And a special shout out to my sis who watched the last episode and shared her questions and thoughts. We really, appreciate you engaging with us, but also want to encourage more people. There is no such thing as a bad question or too many questions or anything like that. Right. A lot of what she said, like when she said that part about, is my presence enough? That God is God's presence. Yes, that God was saying, is our presence enough? Like that hit me so hard and helped to illuminate something that I'm going through, where I was like, wait, I'm getting a similar thing, except it's not a question, it's a statement. Like
she hears one word and goes down.
And that's it.
That's how you are. You do that all the time. Like,
it hits me, and it just like, so one, please do not share. If you have something that hits you or you want to share with us, please write it in the comments. We really do appreciate it. And thank you, sis.
I guess we can't say her name.
I don't pull her business out. If you want to know, go read the comment and comment on her post. There you go.
And she knows we're talking about her.
Exactly.
Thank you, sis.
Exactly. Thank you, sis. And sis, we will see you guys on the next episode. Hope you have a great week.
Yes.
Bye.